But here he is, of course, speaking of the man of the hour,
What's up?
the Rhino himself. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You got your band on your head ready to emphasize, recap the movie we're doing
Right.
today. You suggested it. I looked forward to it. I was hoping not to have to do a solo, but God, the Lord, whoever you believe in, the universe maker, creator, answered my prayers. And he brought me who better than the Rhino to really delve in deep into this specific film we're talking about today. Rhino, how you been since the
Exactly.
last time we had you on?
Good, man. I've just been prepping for this one.
We did talk
Yeah.
about this for a while now to actually
Yeah.
get together and try to do this. So, what better time than now? I mean, we're not too far removed actually from, what was it, 90? So, I think the 30th year anniversary of the film itself being released in
Yeah, I
Thanksgiving.
didn't. Right. Yeah. I didn't realize this until today, but this is like this series could actually be called like worst films of a franchise released in 1990 starring Talia Shire because it's the same exact year as Godfather 3.
Back
And
to
they
back
both
for her, yeah.
yeah, back to back.
Which,
There were sequels to movies that won Best Picture.
yeah, that is true, right. Oh, right. Rocky 1 did win Best Picture. Was Rocky 2 nominated or did it
No,
win?
won the People's Choice Award,
Huh.
whatever
Which
that was. That's not around anymore.
I didn't even know that existed. Wait, the
Yeah,
People's Choice?
I think I only know it exists because Rocky 2 won Best Picture at it.
Okay, so that was the only standout for their awards, for their sakes, I
I think
guess.
so. Yeah,
Okay, but I mean, then again, if the people vote you in, it's kind of like the popular vote when you get presidents, and it's
yeah,
always the one you want, quote unquote, but then the other guy ends up taking it anyway,
yeah.
or grabbing him by the pussy, allegedly. But, that's neither here nor there. That's politics, so we're leaving that alone. Don't you bring that up. I'm not going to bring it up either, bro. Let's leave
No.
that alone. But I'm glad to have you back on. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks,
I'm
man.
gonna
Thanks for having me.
No, it's absolutely my pleasure. I'm gonna emphasize always that Rhino is key to me being that interested in film to begin with, even if it's something as simple as me crying, bitching, ranting, raving about whatever movie I liked or didn't like for each episode. But it's the fact that I met you back in college. I gotta emphasize that. And shout out to LaGuardia Community College, all our associate degree, you know, graduates are almost there, kind of borderline. I just got lazy last semester of, didn't quite
Yeah,
pull through.
that's me, man. That was three credit. I was 3 credits short.
Oh, that was you two.
That
Oh,
was two even.
just short of, right?
Just short. It's still what is it called? The bursar's office. It's still there. It's still there. One of these days, I'm gonna go back.
Like you.
You. So when did you? I know the last episode for Godfather 3, we pulled an all nighter. When did I started Rocky 5 last night and I finished today. When did you watch it?
Well, funny enough, I did watch it last night again just to kind of crash course, make my actual notes because I made mental notes leading into it before that. I might have caught it by accident, let's say a month ago or so, like Christmas. I know it was on randomly somewhere. I just watched it. But I
Yeah, I
always
think I
have,
remember you telling me that too.
yeah, because
And you weren't impressed by it.
yeah, I never was. But the thing is, too, like yesterday, and I think maybe one other time years ago, is when I actually watched it from start to finish, also. Because I always caught it when it was, I know you remember because, we're both born and raised New Yorkers, pretty much. You're from the Bronx originally, I think, or Yonkers, or
Hmm.
what was it?
Yeah, Bronx. Yeah,
Bronx, right. So I'm a Queens kid.
just south of Yonkers.
Also borderline tipping into,
Hmm.
you're tripping, you're in Yonkers, pretty
I dip
much.
my toes into Yonkers a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, the reference I'll make when I say, Channel 11, Sundays, 3 o'clock randomly. It was either this or the very first old 1990 Punisher that would be on like
With
every other
Dolph
two or
Lundgren.
three with his big, stumbling, lanky ass doing the Punisher thing. He's like a
Yeah,
foot taller than the actual guy was in the comics, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Louis
But yeah,
Gossett Jr. No, WPIX, man. I mean,
WPIX.
Sunday afternoon.
And it always be like bottom of the barrel, scraping like the bottom of the trash can. Betty had said like their picks every time. WPIX all the picks for this Sunday.
Yeah, they wouldn't play Punisher in the afternoon. Punisher would be like Saturday night, like maybe 11 o'clock, but usually like their 1 o'clock movie. They would have the
Hmm.
late movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So like 8 o'clock, like 8 o'clock would be like Tequila Sunrise with Mel Gibson, and then like um yeah.
yeah. But well, the point was, I don't know how it works for people watching from other areas, demographic wise speaking, in their local areas, or at least back in our days. We're not that young anymore, but we're not dead either. Better
No.
get said. Tight like crossed fingers, of course. Keeping it like that. But but at least for Channel 11, our local Channel 11, at least, they would always have, like I said, Sundays afternoons, like whatever. I guess they had to like scramble and just throw into their big VCR and play for the rest of the city, whoever was tuning in too. Because I remember growing up, at least, my father didn't believe in taking us out anywhere. Like he'd just stay home, get drunk, and watch soccer or something on Sundays. So I'd
Yeah.
have to go to the bedroom and watch something if I could, and then I'd be stuck with Channel 11 because I didn't. I always had this thing. I don't know if you had that too. Like something about Channel 2 CBS here, like bothered me, like the logo or
It was
how
the color.
the colors. Yeah,
It was the color. It was like too like it's like magenta and beige. And they didn't really show movies either.
no,
I mean,
but they had nothing else
they would
on.
show like straight to video movies at like 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, like with David Hasselhoff or whatever. But like
Oh God,
they wouldn't show, yeah.
yeah, and then Channel
Or yeah,
Four.
that might actually be ABC. I'm not even sure if Channel Two ever played anything.
ABC turned me off too for some reason. Like I don't know the display or like
It
the
had that
I don't know.
ABC had like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle color.
Yeah, you're
Everything
like
was like deep green
washed
and deep
out,
blue. Yeah, yeah,
washed out and grainy. But yeah,
yeah,
this would be. I remember this would be the go-to once this made the rounds to playing on TV. Rocky Five, I mean, it
yeah.
was. I remember it had to be like at least every 3 weeks. I wish I was lying, but I remember that clearly because I would always catch it. My luck when Tommy Guns is peeling off in the brand new Cadillac. I'd always catch it after that part. I can never catch it before that. And it'd always be
You were
like,
busy, man.
I was a busy 9 year old. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
busy digging in my nose, I guess. But yeah, I just remember it being on there too. So that's being said, it can't be a good start or a good sign for a movie to speak of per se. But the point of today's episode is, and I'm glad again you're joining me for it, is we're gonna dive deep into Rocky Five because
yeah.
people love running the Rocky One, as you said, won an Oscar, excellent film, classic. I dare say
One of my
masterpiece,
favorites. Top 10.
easily top 10. I go personally for me, I guess because of the redemption, underdog, coming back from the bottom, all hope is lost, making it back like that. I go with Rocky 2 myself. Everyone loves running to
Yeah.
that too.
Which
It's
is
the
funny you
comeback tale.
mentioned that because so when did you first see Rocky 2? Because WPIX 11 never ever showed Rocky 2
No.
ever. Because it's basically, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of a remake of the first one. Not, you know, I'm thinking that was their reasoning because he just fights Apollo again. So you never saw that once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the ear go up. You weren't happy about that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't agree necessarily, but I think that was the reasoning behind WPIX never showing it. It would always go from Rocky to Rocky 3,
Yeah.
Rocky 4, and then it would finish the following day with Rocky 5.
Maybe they just
Or,
didn't have the budget for showing number two. Because they
I
would
mean,
rarely show
maybe.
anything good.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, call me
But
crazy. I just remember five on Channel 11 for the most part. I wish I could
they showed
remember
all of them. I
one.
mean, Rocky 5, you would have been convinced was a huge box office smash and was just like ratings heaven because, no, it was the one that was shown the most. But
But yeah, I mean, well, of course, we're doing five specifically again because 1 and 2 are the darlings to go to. Who hasn't reviewed that? Who hasn't been like, let's do a deep dive into the Rocky series and just 10, 20 minutes on 1 and 2 and then barely touching 3, 4, and 5 because they're jokes. They're like hokey, gimmicky, whatever. And then 5's like, oh, no. Like the red, no offense, redheaded stepchild, if anything. You're red bearded, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
but yeah, then there's the whole about the Rocky Balboa, which we'll talk about too briefly because there's a link, interesting enough, a bridge between 5 and Balboa,
Yeah.
which you
And
brought to my
I'm looking
surprise.
forward to talking about that too, because we'll get there when you're ready.
Yeah,
Pull your left ear up when you're ready.
which was great.
That scared me though, man, about Rocky 2. You didn't have that on the last time. So that's good, man. I know where I'm stepping out of line. I got to back up. Calling your favorite Rocky movie a retread of the first one.
Whoa, yeah, you
That
better
wasn't
watch
very
it, pal.
nice. Yeah. I'm forgetting whose show I'm on.
Now, but feel free. This is an open platform for you, especially. I rolled
Yeah.
out the red carpet for you, proverbially speaking, of course.
All right.
But all right, you know what? Before we get into the 5, recapping or just going scene to scene, whatever stood out per se, let's run through the facts, little tidbits that while we were doing research, getting our notes together, and scribing and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we got to offer there. Oh, shout outs to All I Do Is Mix for joining in on the live. Appreciate you. Uh, Rhino, without giving away his government name, you remember him from LaGuardia, the web radio, the Mad Dog.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's All I Do Is Mix. Shout outs to him from our
Shout
LaGuardia
out.
days.
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, man. But yeah, I guess I'll bring it up first then. A fun fact was according to Rocky Balboa, number 6 in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he was misdiagnosed in 5 with the quote unquote brain damage he had that made him stop and wouldn't get him licensed in any states anymore to fight. And I know you brought up Balboa before, like off air in our own combos, and mine too, also. A pleasant surprise. Thank God it took so long as it did, but it was a great reintroduction to the series for those who weren't familiar from that age
Right.
to make them curious enough to go back into 1 through 5.
Yeah, no, like, that's the thing that I was going to say. Is just like the thing is, like, people our age and a little older and a little younger, what you don't realize is, I mean, Rocky 5 was the worst thing that could happen to you as a kid. It was just the worst thing in the world. It just like, you just like, you held out this hope that there was going to be another one, and then 91 became 93, 93 became 95. Nobody cared about Stallone anymore, and it's just like, this is never going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so the fact that Rocky Balboa ever even happened in the first place, let alone it's a great movie. Like
yeah,
76% on Rotten Tomatoes, made more money domestically than Rocky 5. But like, it was like, it's tough because Rocky 5, if Rocky 5 didn't happen, Rocky Balboa would have never happened. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
If Rocky 5, if they didn't give Paulie power of attorney and they lost everything, we'll talk about that in a
yeah,
minute, but they lost everything. If they didn't lose everything, then they wouldn't have gone back to the old neighborhood. Rocky Balboa would have never been made, and then so on. Creed would have never been made in Creed 2. And that's great. It's a happy ending, but it doesn't tell the story of people our age between the years of 1990 and 2005 that had to live with the fact that the last Rocky movie was Rocky 5, and it was tough. Like, it made life a lot less enjoyable.
Oh yeah, because like you said, it was a bittersweet send off, Rocky 5, because
Yeah, bittersweet because it's not a good movie.
no, it's not.
and
I
ends
mean,
ends in a street fight. But like, future generations or the current generation, they're going to watch Rocky 5 and they're going to be like, okay, that was pretty terrible. And then they're going to click watch next, and they're just going to go right on to Balboa, not understanding that it took 16 years, which actually felt more like 32 years. I can't believe it was only 16 years. Like, I'm not
yeah,
buying
right.
it. Only 16. I was going to say 26. I'm like, no, it was 2000.
2006.
In fact, wait. It's Rocky Balboa is almost as old now as Rocky 5 was when Rocky Balboa came out. and future generations aren't going to understand that.
Yeah, that's too much math for like Gen Z to do now.
Yeah,
If they
but
can't count,
it still stings a little bit. I feel you forget when you're watching Rocky V. You forget. You're like, oh wait, no, there were more.
yeah, there were more after. Well, I mean,
We were so conditioned to understand that was the final chapter.
it is crazy to think
The
though.
best part of the movie is actually the montage at the end.
The very end, the credits with the pictures and
Yeah,
everything too
with the
laid
Elton
out.
John song, which I think you want to talk a little bit about later.
Yeah, later on.
But it's the best part of the movie because it's just showing stills from the better installments. So
yeah, exactly. Like the key points and everything too, nostalgia purposes. But then also, I mean, briefly touching on that part, the credits. It was done, and again, I'll emphasize bittersweet as far as the whole movie Rocky Five was, because you think it's kind of signed, sealed, delivered with the credits, pictures laying over each other from the different entries and everything too, and the song of choice. What was it called? The Makings of a Man or something?
Measure of a Man.
Measure of a Man, right?
Yeah,
But that kind of song too, as well.
it's a good
It
number.
kind of it's.
I like it.
I did like it. But that would just mean that this is it, without having to literally say, at the end of the credits, like this is the last Rocky, go fuck yourself, and that's it, we're done.
Yeah,
Hey yo, fuck you. That's it.
exactly.
But yeah, it is bittersweet though to think that that could have been the end, and also referencing back to Balboa, had that not existed, had he not, as we'll go into the next fact, as far as Sylvester Stallone's concerned, had he not been greedy, as he said himself, enough to make Rocky Five, for the sake of the budget, well, not the budget actually, the salary he got paid to make it, we would have never gotten Rocky Five, because this is really interesting and blew my mind almost, Betty had said, because he admitted himself in a couple of different interviews. One, he said Rocky Five was made out of quote unquote greed, no real need for it, no necessity. And when someone else asked him in a different interview, I try to look for it to vouch, but I'll take it at his word. When they asked him to lay out, okay, rate them all, what do you give each one, whatever, when it came to five, it's like he didn't hesitate, said zero. I hate it, pretty much saying I hate it. Like, he can't look back and even, it's cringeworthy to him.
That's a cruel assessment. Even Roku giving it 1 star is a little rough. Which I didn't realize Roku gave star ratings, so I'm looking forward to like going through
and see what's in their top
all my favorites. Yeah, Rocky 4. So Rocky, the first one is 4 stars on Roku. 2, 3, Balboa, Creed, and Creed 2 are 3. Okay. Rocky 4 is 2, and Rocky 5 is 1.
I'd say that's about fair considering.
Say that twice. What's that?
I'd say that's about fair as far as where they rank, but the actual scores given might be, like you said, a little unfair to each one.
Little bit.
Yeah. But I think they got their listing
I would give
right.
Rocky 5 2.
Well, we'll have to dive deep into that to see why you'd give it a 2, because I'm going to beg to differ. And after finally watching it again in full, I can see where you're going with that, but then I'm going to have to beg to differ. Perhaps, most likely. But yeah, he said those 2 things himself about the film when asked. I would also think that a part of it that plays into him being so harsh towards 5 will be the fact that if you compare it, another fact, Rocky 1, well, there's the whole story that I love that goes with Rocky 1, as you told me, you explained, and then I read it as well too and validated that they didn't want him to play Rocky. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. They wanted to just sell off the story, but he stayed stubborn. He stayed persistent with him being the star, it being its own movie. And well, here we are, fast forward however many years later, it's an epic series itself. But the salary he got paid for 1, I'm guessing that was part of the budget, was $23,000. You fast forward to Rocky 5, it's $15 million that he got paid. Or maybe he paid himself. I don't know. He convinced someone to pay him. But you do the math according to.
I mean, he did write. He wrote it.
Right.
Too. So screenplay fee.
Okay. So that probably goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
But then,
still,
when you do the math, I mean, I'm not Asian at least, so I got like a 0.5% genetically speaking Asian in me, allegedly, according to my mother. But, short of being a drinker herself, an alcoholic, I don't know if I can really take out the words. She's a Spanish mother, so exaggerate the truth at her convenience. But if you do the math, comparing both salaries, that's a 65,217% increase from 1 to 5. To think all that math is mind blowing. It's amazing to think that someone would either, again, if he paid himself, he got someone to convince him to pay him that much, and then he finally went through and got the bag for it, as they say. Because this is also something else I found out the other day. Supposedly, allegedly, I forgot who said it, but Sylvester Stallone was supposed to be the Beverly Hills Cop before Eddie Murphy got it. It was supposed to be a much more serious tone themed movie versus what Eddie Murphy turned it into, an actual comedy.
Yeah.
So
Thank God that didn't
I
happen.
guess, yeah, it would have been another like Cobra or anything like that too. So
Right.
like just in LA, if anything, right?
Right.
Shout outs to Joey the Kid 518 up in, I believe it's Rochester. Correct me if I'm wrong, brother, in the comments. I appreciate you coming through and joining in on the live. You're here with the Rhino Roll, Ryan, for who has been watching Rocky 5 edition. But yeah.
And before we lose track of the salary, the thing that's amazing as I pull up the Wikipedia page right now, the budget for the movie was only $42 million.
That got a $42 million budget for 5?
For 5, $42 million. So I mean, take away the $15 million that he made, and you're looking at $27 million for the entire movie.
Oh my God!
I mean, I don't have the math skills that you have. I don't know what percentage that is. But that's a big chunk of the salary. Like that's rough.
Yikes!
Yeah.
Wait a second. If we take inflation into account now, from 1990 to now, that's like what, 31 years?
Yeah.
What would that put? Well, I can't do the math. I'm not going to put you to do it either. But
what, the salary or the budget?
The budget, because that's concerning.
I mean, I don't think it's that expensive. Maybe I'm wrong. The salary is more impressive.
The salary, yeah, because I guess roughly that would translate into nowadays' number, probably like 20 million, 25, give or take.
Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, maybe like 25.
25-ish, yeah. But then the budget would be like what, at 60 million for Rocky 5? It's got no special effects. It's got no crazy
it doesn't.
montages.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not worth it at all. Like, and I mean, it's in the same.
I mean, maybe just because they a lot of the fights that they show are in like Madison Square Garden and stuff like that.
Oh well,
Tommy Gunn's like working his way up.
Okay, yeah, there is that part. That could be it. That could factor into it. I guess so. But that is insane.
Also, I think my one crack at oh no, I did the math. Okay, all right. Yeah. Sorry, I thought I messed up. But continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But the salary is, well, I thought the salary was interesting, but the fact that you bring up the budget was that much for 1990, considering there's no special effects and you could hire like that, or if there was, it was busy doing like ET or something actually that merited like that. But then again, they had like animatronics and the puppets and the Muppets and all that shit too. They weren't really going crazy with the computer effects, right? I mean, does this need like a whole fucking special effects team to emphasize ET like that?
Yeah.
A big fat sausage finger with a wide tip at the end. It looked like he had a boil on there the whole time. I mean, you can just get a stunt double with that too. Oh, I burned my finger on the tea kettle. Here, I got a boil. I can double when they're not showing ET in full.
Yeah.
But
okay, so 42 million in 1990 is equivalent to 86 million now.
No way.
Yeah. So Rocky
that's
5
disgusting.
86 million.
That's disgusting.
And 15 million is 30 million. So basically he made 30 million for the movie. Which is what like LeBron James gets a season, right?
Close enough. But at least he's actually physically active doing something that like, entertains people.
He's right.
He's not stumbling and mumbling all these like punch drunk antics and rants, whatever he's doing in the film. Like you'll do later on for us too.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Another fun tidbit, I guess you could say, is also this. When speaking of money, how about we keep it in that realm? Speaking of money, listen, I got no problem. I don't want to be stereotypical and make a racial joke per se, because everybody's sensitive nowadays. God forbid who's watching, but you'll know what I mean when I say $2.99 to rent a film, watch it at home. Whatever streaming service app you got is convenient. Why the fuck is Rocky Five of all things the clear cut winner, worst one of the whole fucking series? Any entry you compare it to, is this the most expensive one to rent at $3.99 everywhere you look, and why?
Right. I think it's like you said. It's like when you go to the restaurant and like the thing that nobody orders is the most expensive because it's like a surcharge for like shit. We need to make this for you.
Yeah,
Like
because you
Amazon Prime is like we need to carry this for you. You're getting $3.99.
yeah, they gotta like wake up like the
Yeah.
sleeping night guard and like tap him on the
Yeah.
shoulder because
It's
he's
like porn.
slobbering and
It's
stuff.
like porn. The more like niche it gets, the more you're gonna pay for it. And it's like Rocky Five. It's like, listen, if you want it, you're paying top dollar for this.
It's like, you fucking freak, you want this
It's
dumb
like
shit,
all
all
the
right?
other ones are like Amazon Prime, and then Rocky Five is like, nope, $3.99. If you want to buy it, it's like Suncoast Video 1990. It's like $27.99.
And it's baffling because, yeah, you would think like, right, it's like the restaurant analogy I gave you too. It's that one thing on the menu almost no one gets, and then when you do, you are that one asshole that orders it. Like the chef is like, oh, God damn it, I gotta fucking dust off the meat. It's in the back of the fridge because it's unfrozen or whatever, and actually make this for this dickhead, whatever. But that's the irony of it because, or I would guess, yeah, if it was a good movie, heralded, highly reviewed, whatever, critics' favorite, whatever, that would probably be logistically the most expensive one to get. Or if it won an Oscar, okay, I get it. Maybe that's some sort of validation. But this is the fucking shits. This is like saying, okay, I got diarrhea, but it's only better than the loose shit I took last night because I can see what I ate coming out of me, and I can tell the doctor about it the next day when I go to get checked out for my Cologuard or whatever. It's it's baffling, but that's money though. And on top of that too, the interesting thing was with Amazon Prime, which is my go-to for renting movies, because they got close to everything. So thank God for that. And I got Prime, so might as well use it to my advantage anyway. I don't know how out of approximately, it might be more since yesterday, since watching. I hope not. Out of 1,557 ratings slash reviews on Amazon Prime, this thing is almost at 4.5 stars out of 5. If it was 4.5 out of like 20, I'd get it. But this is out of fucking 5. Half a point of fucking almost perfect according to 1,600 almost fucking idiots.
White people. That's it. That's it, man.
But I would think maybe like at least what 1,400 of them would be like Italians. That would be like, hey, it's fucking Rocky. Just give it a fucking 5 star, you asshole.
Right,
Something like
right.
that. But then
Hey,
will white
Rocky's
people
in it.
flock to it?
Yeah, I think so. That's what it is. I was at a brewery one time with a friend, and in Long Island, deep in Long Island, and everybody at the table was white, and they were talking about all the Rockies, and I made the mistake of being like, oh, well, I think Creed is the second best one overall.
Oh.
Oof, like a record, just never mind. Yeah, and then it's just like, oh, yeah, didn't really do it for me, and it's
Hey,
just like, of course it didn't.
hey, pal, what's your fucking problem? But then, yeah, also the funny thing was, as you mentioned, like comparing it to like what Suncoast Video used to cost you to buy the film and everything to and full. It didn't matter if you wanted to rent the standard definition version or the high definition version of the film. They both cost you $3.99. So I thought to myself, wait a second, I'm gonna get grainy quality if I pay the same price for what's supposed to be higher definition of shit as well. So okay, I'll bite that bullet and just take it anyway. Let me get that fucking higher definition allegedly because this had a $50 million budget back in 1990 for some reason, somehow, some way. But does that bother you at all? Like, because I know usually for Prime at least, I'm sure it's the
It
same for other
bothers me if you
services.
had to rent it. Did you have to rent it?
Yeah, of course. I don't fucking own it. Fine, I'm gonna fucking own
I
that
could have
shit.
lent it to you. I think I've got it like 2 times over, man. I could have lent it to you on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 8 millimeter film.
Rhino, this is 2021. I don't own any of those things anymore. I'm not the movie buff like you are, bro. Everything's
Yeah,
streaming for me
I got
nowadays.
some. I got some Rocky gifts in the past.
Yo, I was telling you earlier that doll. Well, I guess you call it Rocky doll, whatever. Has the perfect pursed lips like Rocky would when he's about to utter out a yo.
You.
I wish he was. I wish he had the outfit he had on in one, like the black pants, the black jacket, and the hat to go with
Yeah,
it. He was like flipping nickels or like playing handball with himself the whole time.
yeah. He's just bouncing a ball. All right, so let's get in. Like, why don't we start talking about things that popped out to us in the movie? I think that's a good segue.
Okay.
You know, I can start.
Yeah, please go ahead.
The first thing, the very first thing is after he beats him and before he starts like shivering and being like, "Can you call Adrian?" Um, the Duke, the Apollo's old manager, is like, he's like, "You did it." He's like, "Especially for Apollo." And like the first thing that popped in my head is, there's no way Apollo Creed would have wanted Rocky to win this fight. There's no way. Apollo Creed got killed in the second round. Like there's no way that Apollo Creed would be happy that he got killed in the second round and then Rocky actually won the fight. Call me
Yeah, because
crazy, but
no, because I did bring that up too in my first episode actually for Rocky Four. That logistically, I get it. The whole series is called Rocky, so of course he's the hero. He's like the favorite to win. Like there's no way he can lose like that. Or when he lost, it was like to build him up to win big time afterwards too. But if you compare the two, Creed's bigger, stronger. Yes, he's way more arrogant. He was like a Kanye
and
West
he's
of
older.
boxing. Older
Yeah,
too, but I mean, look at the body. He's always been jacked, ripped, well defined. Rocky had to build up to it, from like 1 to 4. There's a big jump in physique and like
yeah,
shreddedness. Betty had said HGH played a big time factor by that time too, as well. I'm sure, allegedly,
of course.
but he's built and almost the size of Drago. Yes, he's an unstoppable monster. He's a Russian bot, pretty much. Trump knows about that better than we would. But yeah, he's built to kill, pretty
No
much. That's what.
politics.
No, oh, sorry, no politics. Excuse me. But yeah, he's built to kill, pretty much. You would think, yeah, of all things, Apollo would last at least 3 rounds, make it to the end, or if he dies, at least he dies from exhaustion at the very end, round 15 or something like that. But of course, they got to kill off the black man. First things first. Like, I thought this was a fucking drama film, sports film, whatever, not a fucking horror movie like they always do the black man anyway. He's got to be the first one to get nixed and all that. There he goes down in like 1.5 rounds even.
Yeah. Well, that's my point. I mean, Apollo was really competitive. That was the whole point. And I don't think he wanted Rocky to die, but like if, he's watching from heaven, he doesn't want Rocky winning that fight. He wants him he wants him to get knocked out like third or fourth round, you know.
Oh, so you think, what do you call it? He was salty about it.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I died just so this jive turkey can win the big one. And everybody
That
forget
no, I
about
mean
me.
it's like, come on, that's a tough pill to swallow. Like you guys were like great competitors, great friends, and like you said, you get killed in a round and a half, and the other guy goes 15 and wins the fight.
That's the whole
That's
thing.
a tough yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow.
And I mean, at the end of 4, or building up to the midst of the final fight with Drago and everything too, it still takes him like 12 rounds to finally do some body damage or whatever, give or take.
Yeah, right. Which
And
is
then,
also the beginning of Rocky Five, of
right,
course.
oh, of course, that's another disturbing factor as far as the time gap, which is, again, it makes you think, as far as you brought up, the budget is so high considering that's a lot of money we're speaking of back in 1990 of all things, or give or take late 80s when they're producing it. I guess it shouldn't take too long to make Rocky Five because how fucking lazy it was anyway, as you can tell in the time gaps and the faults and misses. But to think you got that money allowed to you, you got the set, the crew, director, writers, everybody contributing and helping out. And I'm assuming fans as well too, because they're thinking Rocky Five. Oh shit, I didn't think this would happen, but okay, let's jump on board and do it. Even though Drago was like, iffy. It's okay. It's 5. It's Sylvester Stallone. It's Rocky. Let's go with it. How do you explain the time gap? How do you explain the child? Physical proof of it being no fucking respect for time and space in this case. The end of Rocky 4, it's Christmas. When it happens, the kid is clearly under 10 years old, might have been 8 at most. He comes back over from the fucking plane in Russia, back home to the good old USA. At the airport, there's this fucking preteen with stubble on his fucking face with like mop headed hair, emo kid practically with the style back then, and greeting him at the airport, like, Dad, 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 whatever. He's fucking 13, 14, give or take, too. What happened?
I couldn't tell you.
It was like the Thanos snap in like Endgame or something. Like he disappeared, turned to dust for 5 years, and came
I
back
mean,
as
it's
a
just
fucking preteen.
it's the laziest decision ever, and ends up actually being one of the weakest parts of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, the kid and going to school and making the friends and stuff like that. Yeah, might be the laziest move in movie history.
and I think
Aside from actually bringing people back from the dead, like what Terminator does, where it just like keeps changing like the time.
at this point, I dare anybody to like fully explain the space and time of Terminator 2, the series in a whole. That's a good point, also, because they're jumping from here to there, to future, back then, here now,
Right. And
and
they go back in time in the future and they change things. So then like people who died are back and so on.
yeah, that'd be a
Yeah.
good one to kind of explore too, eventually at some point too. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say with all due respect, of course, to rest in peace, Sage Stallone, I believe, right? His actual
Of
son
course.
in
Yeah.
real life.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say he was bad as in the film itself. He's a kid. He's not an actor. I'm sure.
Yeah.
My kid's old enough. He can play the role. But then again, that's lazy too. He just like dragged him in by the ears and said, "Hey, you're gonna be in the film. You play my son, whatever." You know that.
Yeah. No, he gives one of the better performances in the movie.
Think
I have to
so?
say. I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of competition. I mean, George Washington Duke takes the cake. I mean, he wins the Academy Award for Rocky Five.
And that's not a easy contest. That's not a hard contest to win. I mean to say.
No, not a hard contest to win, but yeah, I was actually pretty surprised by George Washington Duke. I can't think of the name of the actor right now, but
Oh,
better than I remember.
that's too nerdy if you know his name in real life. But or you love Rocky Five that much somehow, some way. But yeah,
Yeah.
he is a very credible, very lovable dick, I guess you can say in the film. Like he plays his part to the T as far as, obviously inspired by Don King. Did he
Right.
pass or no, Don King?
Don King, I think so. Yeah, he
I think
definitely.
he might have. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think he
So
did.
well, allegedly there's a lot of stuff going on with him too, but I guess RIP as well. He was entertaining as a persona,
Yeah.
despite the character.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he does. George Washington, he does play. Well, the dude in Rocky Five at least. He plays his role to a T. He contributes greatly as far as being the villain, which we never. I don't think we ever got like a clear cut villain per se in Rocky ever, outside of like who his opponent was going to be, or let's say Rocky Three with a Club of Lang, like
Right.
the clear cut bad guy per se. There's always like, well, you're my opponent, and because it's Rocky, you're the bad guy by default, or I have to beat you, so I'm the favorite here. I'm the victim, and eventually the victor. But yeah,
Right.
I don't think there ever was a real villain besides him and Clubber, right? Per se.
I mean, Drago too.
Okay, well, yeah, Drago, but then again, he was like the opponent. Actually, yeah, I take that back.
It's the
Obviously,
same thing. Yeah. But yeah, there's no clear cut one in Rocky Five.
yeah, because everyone is a dick, kind of the Rocky, and then again, of course, life is the villain here
Yeah,
too. Because
they're really bad to Rocky.
yeah, even the neighborhood people, because
No, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, even like the neighborhood people around the way too, when they see him back, of course, at first it's like, oh hey Rocco, great to have you back in the neighborhood, but then eventually it's like they realize, well, you just fell out of grace, you made it out of here, and now you're back in here with us. So how really good off or better off than us are you, if anything, right?
Right.
And then he's slumming it back in the bar. He's like, did he help fix up the gym at all, Mickey's old gym, or was that like already?
They don't get into that.
No, right?
A
Like
lot of
one
things they don't get into.
overnight, it's just like clean and pristine again. Like
It's
people
just
just
clean.
boxing.
Yeah, he goes in and then he has the he has the vision of Mickey, and like he hits the glove and it's so dirty that like dust shoots out. But then without showing you any like, restoration or, you know, it's back. It's back in business. And Paulie selling his mug that he drinks coffee out of around the house for $15.
Oh, jeez. There's so much wrong with the film, too. But we're only,
There's so much. I mean, there's like, speaking of everybody being terrible, there's the scene when they're with the lawyers and it's Adrian, Rocky, and Paulie. There's no reason for Paulie to be in the room. Like that's not, you wouldn't have to bring him in to speak to your lawyers. But they're talking about, what happened with the money after the power of attorney, and they're like, you haven't paid your tax return in 6 years. Your mortgage hasn't been paid in months. It's like, what? Like why? Like why would Rocky not pay his tax returns for 6 years? And then Adrian's like, oh no, fully paid off, the house. We own it. And the guy's like, oh, apparently there's 400,000 still withstanding. It's like, what? Like there's nothing about Adrian in the prior movies that would suggest that she would be dodging tax, paying
yeah.
taxes and not paying the mortgage.
Because, I mean, besides him loving Adrian, of course, and her being like a good gal, let's just leave it at
Yeah.
that. She would be the kind and has, the cut, the cloth, the look of someone who pays their taxes or knows at least to do that much. Because, you're not going to trust Rocky to do the fucking number crunching at home, if anything,
No.
too. So I'm
Right.
sure she's
And
on
then the
top of
fact that
that.
there was only 400,000 left, like they live in a mansion, there was only 400,000 left. They do the whole auction, and you hear in the background they're like, oh, gloves worn in the first fight, $25,000. It's like if those went for $25,000, I mean, all the things you added up, they could have easily made the 400,000.
Or like he was saying, he fights a couple more times, even though he had the
It's
brain
nothing,
damage and whatnot, and
right?
then they'll be good. They'll be
It's
like,
just not. It's not a significant amount owed to explain why they would have to move back to the old neighborhood and have to be completely uprooted.
and then that's the other thing that bothered me too so much about. I always hated Paulie throughout the film because
Really?
he just reminds me of every deadbeat that's in the family. I know people label him or like that one person in the family, like, they mean well, but they're always a fuck up. They always got this grand idea that's going to make them rich and benefit everybody. Oh, but you got to just believe in me. Hit me off with a little bit of this and that, whatever. But they always come back empty handed or like leaving you to pay off somebody or in debt. I mean, that's give or take. But that's the reason why I never liked Paulie like that. He's funny. He's comic relief. He's fun to laugh at.
Only
Like
in Rocky Five or in all of them?
all of them. I never liked Paulie. Also because what is it? Is it alleged that he actually beat like Adrian at some point too? Like actually slapped
Yeah,
her around. So yeah,
yeah. He
that
slaps
I
around
don't
in the first one.
automatically he's disqualified for me as likable at all. Like again, comic relief. He has funny lines. He's comic relief, absolutely. But as far as the character and him being an actual contribution to the whole series itself, I don't like him. This takes the cake as me as far as
I
like
disagree with you there, man.
really.
Yeah, love Paulie.
I mean, for the sake of laughing at somebody, being a punch bag. Yes, there's the intro to three. Was it three that there's the whole thing about him like wanting to fight Rock outside
Yeah,
of
in
the
the
fancy
parking
car?
lot.
Right, right. That is
Yeah,
funny. I'll give you that. He's funny at every point. Whenever you cue him up to be funny or comic relief. But I guess the embodiment of the character himself, what he
yeah. He's a
represents.
terrible. He's an alcoholic, and yeah, he was abusive to Adrian. You busted. I don't know you nothing. Hashtag Rocky One.
But yeah, that's the thing though. Of all things, again, bringing it back to Adrian, like the rock, the foundation, the the one with the solid head on the per se shoulders of the family, the one trusted to be that at least, because he's literally getting his head punched off otherwise. I'm speaking of Rocky. You trust of all fucking things the one member of your family who's the proven scumbag, sloppy drunk, everything else you could think of, loan shark probably, gambling, this,
He
that,
was a
the other
loan shark in
possible.
the second one. Yeah.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you trust him with the taxes and to pass off the power of attorney because he didn't know, but I didn't know nothing.
On my eye, I never stole a freaking dime.
On my eyes, I never stole a freaking thing from you.
And then they also, but like going back to that too, but then after they tell them that they haven't paid taxes in 6 years and that they owe 400,000 on the house, which isn't even that much. I could probably come up with 400,000 if I really needed to, but Rocky Balboa, the heavyweight champion of the world, can't. He finds himself drinking at the neighborhood bar. But after that, Paulie's like, why don't you do commercials? You used to do that. He's like, I ain't no commercial kind of guy. And then the lawyers are like, oh, you wouldn't get a sponsor anyway. You know, it'll pop up that were arrested for assault back when you were loan sharking. It's like, damn, man. Like, Rocky really can't catch a break in 5.
No, they won't let him live. Not easily, at least.
No.
And then on top of that, too, there's a whole thing with that as well. I don't know how much you trust doctors in general, but the fact is, of course, they're like so quick to jump the gun and be like, your brain is damaged so much you can't fight no more. Stop it, whatever. And then only to get told in Balboa, Rocky 6, that, oh, you were misdiagnosed, apparently.
Yeah, no second opinion.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you ever trust doctors in your life, but that's also, I mean, besides seeing that, I've never been able to trust them fully because of that. Or at least there's definitely the second opinion golden rule. Like, you're entitled to that. Why not go for it at least? But then Adrian's like, you can't do it no more, Rock. If you love somebody, you live for them.
Do you love me? Yeah, I love you.
Yeah.
Why are you asking that? Brings me to I think the most questionable, it's funny, we swapped notes. We both had this line of the notes, but the most questionable part, which honestly, I didn't even remember it. They get home after the fight, after the weird like press conference in the weird airplane hangar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they get off the plane and the plane just like pulls in, and then they get off and they have like a press conference, and where Paulie's like, she got fluid in vodka. And then also too, the thing about the press conference also is like they're asking him, they're like, oh, there's like reports of this, and Adrian's the one who's like, he's in perfect condition. Adrian would never say that. She's the one at the press conference saying that he's in perfect condition when the press is asking if he sustained injuries. Side note, but when they get home and they get out of the car, Rocky's like, hey, yo, like, how about I take you upstairs and violate your parking meter? Right in front of the kid. And she's like, oh, what does she say? What does she respond with?
Even for Rocky standards, this joke is so bad. Considering everything he's thrown at her left and right, I'm sure she's fed up with his shit, but she has the brilliant idea to respond, oh, it's going to cost you a quarter.
Right in front of the kid. And it zooms in on Sage Stallone's face, or Robert Balboa, and he's so put off by it.
This is a sweet innocent kid too. Before he got roughed up in Philly enough, like within the span of 2 weeks, to be like a hooligan all of a sudden too, with like this big skull dangling off his left ear or whatever as well.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I always loved or found it per se charming or cute in Rocky 2 when he proposes in the way only Rocky would to Adrian as well. I was hoping you wouldn't mind marrying me too much or whatever. Which is endearing.
I wonder, like, what you might be doing for the next 50 years. Yeah. Yeah,
but yeah, that was a pretty bad one. But then, if you read through my notes, I remember that he did redeem himself, like within 2-3 minutes of that disgustingly bad joke. I mean, like, dad joke to the fullest. That was the parking meter shit. He does redeem himself when he finds the big titty fucking drawing that the kid did in his room.
Right, which is like between, and we're not even talking about, like, in the span of 20 minutes, you get Sylvester Stallone's big bubble ass in the shower.
Which we both made note of.
And then you get that inappropriate joke, and then you get the drawing of the kid. It's like, what is this?
Like,
it was rated PG-13.
Yeah, right. It was PG-13, and I read, like, I think in Ireland of all places, it got like a 15 rating, almost mature because of that. I think. Yeah,
and then there's a girl later on. She's like, for an Italian kid, you ain't got to have a cute butt. That's terrible.
Then, of course, as every film does,
The episode should just end right now. It should fade out to like sad French music.
but I did like that joke because that was pure Rocky-esque when he made up for himself with that joke, like the knock knock shit. Like knock knock. He's like, who's there? Madame. He's like, Madame who? Madame foot stuck in the door. When he tells him he knows a little bit of French too, whatever.
Oh yeah.
I thought that made up for itself.
When he finds the picture and he's like, hey, you, like, who's this? He's like, oh, that's my French teacher, Madame Dupont. Like, I wouldn't show your mom. She don't know French too good.
And that does bring us, if you want to jump into that now, the point that Rocky 5 is like reinventing Rocky per se, as far as how dumb he is.
Yeah. Well, very quickly, I just wanted to finish off on as far as like the time continuum of the Rocky series.
Yeah.
It's important to note that around the time that all of this is happening, that Ivan Drago is training Victor Drago in like the poor streets of the Ukraine. So I just felt that was, watching Rocky 5 and knowing that that's happening at the same time kind of enhances the movie a little bit.
No, that was a good point you brought up too. I totally forgot about that aspect. I didn't even key into that just because, yeah, you're right. With the time continuum, if we're keeping in a timeline, because Rocky don't know how to count anyways, beyond like 10 on his fucking fingers, because he can count that high. Yeah, so roughly Ivan would have had to made Victor possible with, shout out to young Brigitte Nielsen before the fight, give or take. Let's just say
in Rocky 4.
In Rocky 4, right.
Right.
Give or take to like fucking,
which doesn't make sense because he's not in Creed 2, he's not in his early 30s.
He can't be. Because Creed's like give or take what, mid 20-ish, I guess. Like
yeah, but even he would have had to have been born before, or at least in his mom's stomach in 1985. So none of it makes any sense.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because he got Ivan Drago, Brigitte Nielsen left him right after he loses.
Yeah, that didn't make sense either. And I mean, we can also jump briefly to Creed 2. Where at least I was kind of hyped up and interested per se to see if she would make a cameo or if they would throw that into the story to see if he comes back to watch his son at his big fight for Victor Drago at least.
Right.
Which again, I for some reason I think I watched Creed 2 drunk. When it came out.
Well, we saw it in the theater together.
Oh, we did, right. But
and we were drunk, yeah.
So I don't remember the movie at all. So then I finally sit down and watch it here like some months ago because I was just on a Rocky tear. I just wanted to watch them all kind of. And then I did realize, oh shit, she didn't wait till the very end to show up at the fight. She was there at that like formal dinner they were having for them because he was representing the comrades and such.
Were you that drunk at the theater?
I swear to God, I barely remember the film. I remember like the very first fight where he lost, and then I was like all black after that.
Such a bad influence. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But yeah, that was interesting. They dragged it back in from whatever rock she was hiding under too, to like make that cameo at least, or brief appearances in the film per se. Do you think that added to Creed 2 at all, or like was that kind of we could have left that out, or kind of built more drama that way?
Could have left that out. Didn't need to be in it.
Yeah, because I mean, she did play her part in Rocky 4 as like his spokesperson, whatever / wife and whatnot. And I mean, considering the times, I think they might have been married or they were about to in real life. Him and her and Stallone and Nielsen, right?
Yeah, they were married at the time.
They were married. Okay, so obviously,
I mean, I like it. I like her being at the fight at the end and then leaving, and it's just like it's very hokey, but. I mean, there's some, like, the whole, like, dinner scene when she first shows up. I mean, it's not great, but I like that Ivan is, like, not upset, and he's more upset at the son for storming out because it's like, Ivan is, like, despite the fact that she'd left them and abandoned them, and he's been, like, training him in the streets and all that, he understands the bigger picture. So when the son storms out, he's not like, oh, thanks for having my back. He's just kind of like, who's your butt?
But I always love that part from, again, we're gonna jump a little bit briefly here, but back to Rocky Four. I love when like at the very last round, Rocky and Drago, like he just like grabs, snatches out the manager by the throat and like just what did he punch him out? I think
With a boxing glove
with
on.
a boxing glove, right? Like so he had to do like a forward dipping claw of sorts, like a vending machine would,
Yeah,
and hold him up like
exactly.
that. And he just screams out, Dlamanya, Dlamanya.
Yeah. Mosiva! Utaswa!
Yeah, but bringing it back to five, of course, that's the prime focus here. And by the way, you're watching Who This Been Watching. This is the live version of the very first edition of installment of this episode. Speaking of Rocky Five, here with the Rhino Roll at Rhino RYNO Roll. Here on Instagram first, couple days later you get it on YouTube, youtube.com/who this is one, as well as my page, IGTV, and also everywhere audio wise, wherever you get your podcast, aka digital streaming platforms, readily available then and there. But jumping back into five, of course, this is the main focus. What we're talking about now. I mean, listen, because I watched this for the first time. Speaking of that mug right there, you don't even get the shot of that mug right away to begin the movie with, anyway. You get, as you brought up briefly earlier, you get the glimpse of this most awkward angle stance you could do in a public shower of all things. I get it. He's the champ. He won. He gets that entitlement, that benefit of a shower to himself. But he's standing against the shower wall with his thigh right in front of his little Italian stallion. So you don't even get a glimpse of that. So I guess PG-13 ish per se. But who stands like that in the shower? I get it if you got a migraine and your head is throbbing, your hands are shaking, but then who does this purposely? One thigh out in front to cover up, but then you're holding up the wall pretty much, it looks like you're part of the union and you're struggling to get through like halfway through the day or something.
I mean, it's always been one of the most off-putting things for me. I mean, of all the things that you never needed to see is Rocky Balboa's ass.
I mean, pause. This is the time when, of course, like he got super shredded for four, like obscenely shredded. But then
Right.
again, if you're training like a madman in a cottage in Russia in midwinter, but you got your bomber jacket on, you got your thermal on underneath everything too, and sheepskin lamb coat on, whatever too, you're gonna sweat like a madman too, and probably get as shredded as he did. But then it's also like roughly around like Rambo-ish time, I guess too, and he's in peak
Would have been around Rambo 3.
three, right? Because he was
Oh,
like
well, no, the fourth, yeah.
three.
Well, we got to remember the fourth one didn't actually happen. I mean, it's 1990.
Four was 90?
No, 4 was 85, but we're talking about 5 like it actually happened
Oh,
right after 4.
oh yeah. Right,
Right.
give it. There is that too. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But
Yeah,
he did get at least like super lean and shredded between that time.
for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so I guess in his mind he had to show off, or I can't really elaborate as to why where the logic comes from to show off that scene first, or to make that even like I would think if there's like a shower with like a stool to sit on, or like sometimes they got like seats like that. That would have made more sense. Like just have the water raining on him, and he's like looking down and holding his head or something, like oh,
Yeah, he's
whatever the
really
whole time.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
that
no,
has no explanation, no justification besides okay, I'm really ripped and torn. Let me just show off my glutes. I've been squatting, obviously, as you can tell.
right. Yeah, I think it's just a straight up vanity shot. I think he went to the director and was like, "Yo, like I really want an ass shot in this."
I mean, it's 15 mil. You got to get something, right?
Gotta get, yeah.
Pay admission for that
Yeah,
ass.
they're not giving you 15 million for nothing.
That- and I would think at least if I'm getting 15 mil for the fifth installment of a series that's like got its default fan base, I don't have to show skin, or I don't have to like go all out with that. At least I can like get a little schlubby, get a little sloppy, whatever. Act like I'm in a pandemic for like 10 months now and like just eat, emotionally, of
Yeah,
course,
especially
justified.
when you're retired and you don't actually have to fight.
Yeah,
And he's never shirtless in the movie, other than that.
that too as well. Right, he covers
Yeah,
up, he bundles up because of course Philly streets are cold like that anyway.
yeah,
But yeah, I still don't get that part anyway. But that's the cold open per se. Since he's probably washing himself in cold water, Rocky can't like tell the difference between like lukewarm or hot anyway. I'm thinking because he's so damaged like that.
Yeah.
But also there's butt naked Rocky. That's always like, I guess, a pleasant surprise, or at least like a little gem in there thrown in.
Yeah.
But another thing that bothered me, like I mentioned earlier with Paulie, the character himself, the embodiment of what he represented in every family. Comic relief, yes, he's definitely good for that. And he's got one-liners out the ass, even up to five.
Yeah.
But the other part that did bother me is that as lovable as Rocky has always been, the character himself, you kind of forgive him for his sins because, like, he's from the streets, he's a rough kid, rough upbringing, and whatnot. You can kind of forgive and forget, wish wash, pish posh. But I hate that in this film, he actually clearly and blatantly puts aside his kid, which of course he made the promise of like holding them tight, like cross fingers and whatnot. Oh shit, he froze a little bit. Can you hear me right now? Oh, there you are.
Oh,
Sorry, I
there you go.
thought I lost
Sorry,
you.
I had to check my battery. I gotta plug my phone in. I'm relocating. Keep going.
Okay, but I was saying, yeah, the fact that I've always brought this up and I always discuss this with anybody I've been able to have the chance to talk about this with Rocky. I think him and Michael Corleone might have been indirectly the two most like sympathetic characters as far as you feel bad for them, how they turn out or what becomes of them throughout the span of their movies and films, the entries into their series and sagas too. More Rocky, of course, because he hasn't done anything bad or at least illegal that we know of on screen. Michael, of course,
So
he's
aside from
done
the assault
well, of course, yeah,
and the
but that
loan
was also
shark.
because no, but that's also because like he had no other means of like getting around or getting by. But
Right.
it's not justifying it, not like saying it's permissible. But I get it if that's what it was. Compared to Michael Corleone, which of course we see the whole uh, evolving of him becoming the Don, the head of the family. He has to do things he's not proud of course, but there's no other choice for him too. But then he tries to redeem himself in three. That film. I'll leave it at that instead of not be harsh towards it any more than we were
Yeah.
in that last episode. But
Exactly.
I do hate that they kind of overemphasized and made it too obvious that yeah, Rocky is that much of a simpleton to actually have that happen. But it was too blatant as far as how much he put aside the kid for the sake of Tommy, his protege, his next to kin in the boxing world. Better yet said too. I don't know how you took that. Do you think they might have exaggerated that, or
Yeah. It's too much. It's too exaggerated. And what really hit me was at the end when they finally make amends. Rocky's even like, "Hey, you like, I'm sorry, I forget things." So they're like using like kind of his brain damage almost to explain why he just like he forgot that he was supposed to be a good dad to the kid. He was like, I was supposed to be like the number one, and he's like, hey, you like, I'm sorry, I forget things. Like I didn't remember that part. There's a few parts that I remember. I didn't remember that part.
yeah,
I also forgot about Tommy Gunn sitting at the kitchen table with Paulie, Adrian, Rocky Jr. and Rocky, and then telling them about how his dad was a bad drunk and he got in trouble at school once, so we tied him down and started whipping him, and he couldn't walk for a week. Which
yeah.
gives Tommy Gunn a little bit of a I think they cut that part out on Channel 11.
I think so because that was the first time I saw that like whole explanation or
Yeah,
deep
because
dive.
I felt a little worse about Tommy Gunn this time around. I'm like, oh, it makes a little bit of sense.
It validates him for how like it's not just misplaced aggression because of whatever or just like
Yeah,
no offense like white boys get too like sometimes like I hate life but then explain I can't I just hate it or whatever kind of thing. But yeah, it did give at least a good backstory to justification to like his unsettled rage per se in the ring. But yeah, that is a good point though because of course we know Rocky is just headstrong just because he wants to win that bad. But otherwise, you can't trust Paulie with the beer in the fridge. You can't trust Rocky to even know his social security number. God forbid he has to do his own taxes. So thank God for Adrian being there on his side.
right.
So to be that forgetful,
But
to forget
apparently
how to
not in
be
this one because 6 years without paying taxes.
6 years, the kid grows 5 years in like a week span, and then six
And
years
they don't
pass
pay
by.
their taxes.
No tax.
They
Somehow,
didn't pay
some.
their taxes because it went by way too fast.
Yo, it's only been 2 weeks. What do you mean
Hey,
6 years?
yo, where's the kid? I don't see the kid. Hey, where's...
Like, hey, Dad. It's like, who are
Yeah.
you?
Hey, yo.
But yeah, that did bother me though. I mean, I get it, of course. It's exaggerated. It's the sake of a film too. But that was kind of handled sloppily, I'd say, just because again,
Yeah.
then
It's a tough pill to swallow, and it's one of those things that when you're a kid, even when you're a kid, you notice it. Because when you're young, like for the most part, all movies are pretty equal, and every movie you saw most recently is the best movie you've ever seen.
yeah, that
And
is true.
you're not super like analytical of the movies that you watch, but even when you're a kid, you're like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. He was watching him win at the end of Rocky IV, and he's like, I love you, and he's like 8 years old, and then here he is, he's like ready for high school. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Shout out
I
to
mean,
team underscore Castellion for joining. But yeah, I mean, because again, there is the time gap we covered already, like the jump in time and space, as far as like he's in his fucking bed Christmas Day watching him beat a big mean Russian boxer, like
yeah,
with a pipsqueak voice like Mickey Mouse, like yay, and then all of a sudden the airport he comes back to him and he's like, hey Dad, with stubble
yeah,
and shit. But
exactly.
yeah, that's the disconnect there. Also, the fact that he had to rely on all people, Paulie, to fucking help him train to beat up his bully too. Which this is funny too, because I get it. The kid that beats him up for the jacket and takes it clearly off his back. He's a little bigger. He looks a little rounder around the edges and shit too. He looks like he's built like a wheel of cheese, if anything, too, like the cheeses commercials. But fucking, he beats him 1, 2 punches at most. But then finally, when he gets his vindication after his training with Paulie, of all people, and finally beats him up, it
And
takes him like,
the little guy from the first one, I can't remember that character's name.
I you got me there as far as names is
Yeah,
concerned. But he finally beats the bully up, but it takes him like 15 hits to fucking do it. So, of course, that's a clear sign Paulie trained him, of all people. Or maybe Rocky would have been like 25 punches or something like that, too. Because he would have been taking like at least 5 hits to the head before he like reacts and like thinks, oh, wait, I got to hit him back, right? Dad taught me this way, pow.
yeah,
But
so true.
how did you like, if at all, that little buildup of Rocky Jr.? As we'll get to that too, because I was mind blown when I finally heard his real name after so long. How did you like that little buildup of him from like the kid that's like using big words for Rocky, he can't even like understand or comprehend, into like again within the span of maybe like 2 days, he's like a street hooligan, a street tough.
I didn't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean, it's just bad. It's like one of the worst aspects of the movie. Um, yeah, just not something that I want to watch. I mean, the actors themselves aren't bad, but yeah,
No,
the whole
it's hokey.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's at that awkward age too where kids are like they're busy being assholes just because they gotta rebel against somebody, if not the parents. And it's like,
hmm
what the fuck do you like at that age? Besides, like, I would think picking your nose or like stealing each other's lunch money, if anything. I hope.
right.
But like they're too busy smoking in the fucking schoolyard, if anything, too. Or like buying Lucy's off each other. I don't know what the fuck they're doing
Yeah,
at that age. But and also too, it bothers me that it's so blatant how much he puts him aside. That remember the cufflinks we talked about, the Rocky Marciano owned, if anything.
oh,
He just wants to hand it off to fucking Tommy when I've been thinking, hey, yo, my fucking kid.
right. Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that because there's a few things wrong with the Rocky Marciano cufflinks. So in the first one, in the first Rocky, he sees the poster. Mickey, that is. Sorry, Mickey goes over to Rocky's apartment. He's gonna make his bid to say, "You need a manager," and do the whole thing. And as he's talking to him, he sees the poster of Rocky Marciano, and he's like, "Rocky Marciano," and he doesn't think to mention that Rocky Marciano actually gave him a gold chain with a with a cufflink on it. He doesn't think to mention that. So it's kind of weird in part 5 when he's like, Rocky Marciano, give me this. And there's that. But then there's also the problem that Mickey basically boxed professionally between like 1922 and like early 40s. Marciano didn't start fighting until the late 40s, and Mickey never had a name for himself anyway, because I never had management. So it's like, how would his paths have crossed to Rocky Marciano, where Rocky Marciano would have given him the cufflink?
There's that disconnect too. You brought that up because I'll be honest, I'm not a boxing guy like that, so I only heard
No,
of
me
Rocky.
either. But it just basic history, basic dates.
Well, I mean, you're putting on Rocky to like explain basic school themes and such, but how much is he going to elaborate on that besides, hey, yo, read the books?
Right.
I didn't. But yeah, I mean, that was blatant too, the way that he just handed off or wanted to hand off that thing to Tommy. Then Tommy, comes through with the older redhead, which wasn't the best choice, I think, at least, like, for the sake of, okay, Tommy's being a dick because he's all about the money now. You could have picked someone better looking for that time, but that's hearsay. That's your opinion also, too. It can change.
Bad. She's not bad looking.
She's not bad at all, but, like, I mean, if anything, you're going to really let a madame like her, like, be the one to win him over or seduce him like that? I think she was a little too old for that role and that purpose.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
But then
he's from Oklahoma. He doesn't know any better. I don't think he's ever been with a woman.
I think, being from Oklahoma, he might have been more fascinated or wondering. I wonder if the curtains match the sheets or whatever, or something like that. The drapes, thing like that. I think
so.
But yeah, and then the fact he pulls in, like he tries to give him that, or did he even try to give him the cufflinks, or did he get the chance to, or no? I think he wanted to, but didn't get to.
He wanted to, but then he never shows up for Christmas.
Right. But then he peels in with a new caddy and then peels off again. And then all of a sudden he just has an aneurysm almost in the middle of the streets.
Exactly.
because of good old Tommy.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, like, what are some of your favorite quotes from the movie?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Anything you scribbled down? I mean, some of my we've already thrown out a few of them, but one of my favorites is when Paulie's like, "This neighborhood's coming down with tooth decay." It's a good one.
I like that one. Yeah, that was good.
Was good.
I mean, I'm still a fan of how bad the parking meter joke was, just because it stood out like that.
And it's right in front of the kid.
Right in front of the kid too. I'm sure he appreciated hearing that.
Yeah. I think we should talk a little bit about George Washington Duke. As I mentioned, I think he gives the best performance.
Real good performance, yeah.
Yeah, and when he's pitching the match against Union Kane to Rocky, conveniently right outside of the pet store that Adrian's working at, but Rocky doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
But he's like, "The time is hot. The deal is hot. Caliente." That's a good one.
Oh, and it does remind me actually when he first called Adrian on the phone. And he's like, Mr. Balboa, can you hear it? Or something. Or can you hear it or something? It's like
yeah. And then she's like, "Hear what?" Like, the sound of the parade going by. And then after she hangs up on him, he's like, "Women." Yeah.
No, he was good overall. He was just a good. He was
good overall.
He was
and
a
then
good dick.
he kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit because there's right after he makes that line about the caliente, she comes running out. She comes running out from the pet store, which makes no sense. And he's even like, "Look, it's Miss Balboa. She must be a magician, or she must know magic." So he understands how awkward it is that they're having a conversation in the middle of the street and that she would come running out in an apron from the pet store.
The same apron she probably left behind in, like, what, Rocky 2 or something like that?
Yeah, Rocky 2, when she nearly had a miscarriage.
Right. Shout out to Kenneth _Stones from Dirty Heels podcast as well. Showing love. Always appreciate you coming through.
Oh, nice.
But he is good as far as being just an asshole, and he's funny. He chimes in. I wish I wrote down more what he said throughout because he really sprinkled in like one-liners galore.
Yeah, I wish I did too. I mean, my favorite part is the street fight at the end where his reaction is just he keeps screaming.
Ah! It's so random because Yeah, the middle of the fucking fight. There's already so much going on with fucking the panning, scooping in and out of fucking everywhere camera angles. The kid is having like aneurysm like this every time. Come on, daddy, got him, daddy, got him, daddy, whatever. Yeah, hit him with the left, hit him with the left, whatever, and everything too. All these fucking drunk idiots chiming in too, left and right. Come on, Rocco, you gotta beat him, whatever. Do it for the neighborhood or whatever. And then of
Right.
course he just chimes in everywhere. So
Yeah,
with his
he's like,
perfectly white teeth.
Every time Tommy starts taking hooks, it just cuts to him screaming. Only in America.
So I guess we might as well delve into, I guess, the only saving grace of the fucking film, the fight scene, which we love so much, because I'm sure, like you have before, I've always envisioned a fucking street fight in any case scenario. Maybe not even so much winning, but just to get like rumble and tumble with somebody randomly, like
Yeah.
rolling through like down the boulevard or something too, just for the sake of, and into a chain link fence, of course. I
Yeah.
would love still to this day. God forbid I don't need the criminal record, and I have a clean one. Thank God. I know you do too. Clearly, I clearly want to tackle somebody out the front door of a bar at some point in my life. Still, I'm still physically able to.
What? Yeah. What's stopping you? You're a lot bigger than I am. I can't do it. You can do it anytime you want.
Listen, as far as getting triggered and needing a reason
With
to,
with that hat on.
with the shit on, just come at him full head like that. That's the cue right there. That's it. I'm gonna cut through you like a fucking can opener or something. One more round, exactly like a cue's up. Shout out to Kenneth Stone. Actually, he said in the comment,
I didn't hear no bell.
"Hey, didn't know bell." Yeah, shout out to Kenneth Stone. I don't know how you feel about this. While we touch upon the fight scene, his son was such a waste. Is what Kenneth Stone chimed in. I hope he means throughout the fight, because as a waste, as far as the son is concerned, he wasn't bad. He's just like your dad's Rocky of all people. So, what you really can expect of him, if anything. Yeah, I wouldn't consider the kid a waste, if anything, too. But yeah, let's go into the fight though. Like, I feel as far as the whole build up to it, thank God the movie's not that long, or it didn't feel like it anyway. I think it's
It
just the
felt a
right
little long
length,
to me. But yeah, it is. It's like 1 hour and 40
40-ish, yeah.
some odd minutes.
Which is surprising because you think with five of all fucking entries they've had already building up to that one, it doesn't need to be that long. But for some reason,
No.
I didn't feel it was that long. Maybe because I've seen it so many times, I kind of know what to expect. So it's like,
Right.
I don't really
Well, you
hate that
figure
part.
the opening too is Rocky 4, and that goes on for a good like 7 minutes, and then the ending is the montage with all the pictures. So that's a good like another 7 minutes. So when you factor that all in, it's probably like 1 hour and 28 minutes. There's not a lot to it. So I
That
see what
too.
you're saying.
Yeah, but I think you're right, though. At least, let's say, let's skim off at least a good 10, 15 minutes of the whole film in total, or at least the time between the rest of the film building up to the final fight, because the fight is the payoff. It's
Yeah, you don't need the kids punching him again.
no.
No, that could have been cut out. There's a lot of stuff that could have been cut out.
Or like at least, again, Kenneth underscore Stone says in the comments, he should have been a lot tougher. Let's just be
Yeah,
honest, too.
I can't see that. I'm not getting a live update. I guess because when I disappeared there for a minute.
Oh, probably, yeah. The freezing does that for some reason whenever you're like a guest or
Yeah,
something.
so I apologize if I'm aloof on that, but
Yeah, but then the fight itself. Here's a fun fact. I don't know. Well, I know Kenneth Stones will appreciate this when I did this little deep dive. He's a wrestling fanatic, and I know you were too back in the day. So hopefully you recognize his name. Stallone admitted and attributed the fight scene choreography to Terry Funk.
oh yeah,
So he actually, chimed in and helped actually choreograph the whole fight itself, which, let's be honest, as far as street fights are concerned, I know you're no pussy. You fought back in your day. You told me, and I believe you too, because I know you're scrappy. And I fought mostly just to fight off bullies because they would try to pick on me, and I never allowed that shit. I never went down that route. But the sequencing, it makes sense. A wrestler would probably help contribute to it, but how much? I mean, of all people, Terry Funk, because the first time Rocky makes the comeback in the fight after Tommy Guns pretty much lays him out, and then he chimes his famous, I didn't need no bell. What else? Tommy comes charging
that was
at him.
good.
Well, you do it better. We'll leave that to you, of course. But I try. But Tommy comes charging at him, and Rocky's first instinct is to drop down, turn sideways, and let him trip over his like torso into a chain link fence.
Right.
And then he comes back up. Tommy's getting up too, and then I don't know how to even describe it, but Rocky just gets the instinct to like take his whole body into a full sweep and just sweep him off his
Yeah,
legs.
he just sweep kicks. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I just thought that was so great. Yeah, and why he waits to see like Mickey's ghost and the whole thing to realize, wait a second, like this is the route that I should have taken. And Duke keeps telling him, he's a street fighter. You're a prize fighter. Don't do it.
But then Rocky admits too, when the first time he sees Tommy train for him in that like sparring contest, like he sees, hey, you fight like a street fighter, whatever.
Right.
So
hey, yo, it ain't against the law to duck. Which is funny coming from Rocky because, like you were saying earlier, if he would have trained his son, he would have been like, hey, yo, you got to take about 15 punches. You know.
Only after you took 5 shots to the head, kid. You can't do it any sooner.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
what stands out to you about the final fight, the street fight? What's your favorite like spot? I guess you could call it, if anything.
I mean, the thing that stands out to me the most is that they bring a cameraman with them. And they're able not only to film it, but to tap into like a live feed so that Adrian and the son can run to Adrian and be like, Mom, it's Dad. He's on TV. He's fighting. Like, I don't think they had the technology in 1990.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, why would that be breaking news?
The guy with the camera's like, let's go live. So that's always popped out at me. I mean, I'm not as big of a fan of the Street Fight as you are.
Really? I thought you might have been, or at least that would have been
I
like
mean, when
the
I
one.
was younger, yeah. But watching, I mean, it's good. It goes on for a while. I do like it. And it's the only Rocky fight that, doesn't have like, the problem with Rocky fights is like they'll give you that great first round, and then after that it's just like the person with the round number, and it like goes from round 3 to round 7 to round 11, and it's just like, at least it's when you just get the full fight.
And what I never liked about the other films leading up to 5, at least 1 through 4, is that you're right, exactly. The first round is always great, beautifully shot, panning here, cut there, whatever, too. It sells you the image of like, oh shit, I'm watching an actual fight. I'm getting into it. I'm hyped up for it. But yeah, once it gets past the 2 or 3 or whatever, you start seeing the overhead angles where they're clearly missing each other, but they're still chiming in with the body shots or the sound effects too as well.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, which doesn't bring it down too much because it's not like every other fucking hit is like a clear miss, but it's like you see them like kind of sprinkled in there every once so often.
Of course, yeah.
And it throws you off a bit, which I loved about Creed. I still love Creed. I'd put it up there like maybe my second or third, maybe third or fourth favorite of the Rocky series for that fight alone. I forget his name, the big fat British guy, whatever.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of it right now.
I forget, but
Too.
The fact that I think actually said he got knocked out himself, Michael B. Jordan, for the sake of just to sell the fucking thing. And I don't know how you do that. You go that far to get yourself knocked out like that purposely or eat the punch like that. And they still have the nerve to call him a bad actor, which I don't think he is. I just don't think he's great. But
who, Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah.
No, he's pretty great.
I'd say so.
I don't know who calls him a bad actor.
Not so much a bad actor, but I think they call him too much of a facial actor. Like it's all in the face mostly.
I can see that.
I can see that too.
He's got a nice face, though.
He's got a nice mug on him.
Yeah. I ain't kicking him out of bed.
Well, I mean, what was it? GQ isn't, allegedly, because they told us, according to them, he's the sexiest man alive, so.
Yeah.
I like Michael B. Jordan, too. Absolutely. I absolutely do. I officially call him Michael Bay Jordan, but, hey, that's all right. It's neither here nor there, you know. If I meet him in person, it's like, yo.
Yeah. Ew.
But
Yeah, no, Creed would be my second favorite, no offense.
of all of them, if you count them all in, factoring all the
Yeah,
Rockies.
it would be the first Rocky, and then it would be the second. No, it would be the first Rocky, then it would be Creed, and then it would be a toss up between Rocky 2 and Creed 2.
Okay. Oh, so you'll
Yeah,
put Creed 2 up there then. Like
yeah,
you
I
really
do.
liked it.
Yeah, I didn't love it when we watched it,
Hmm.
probably for the same reason because we were, way too drunk. But it grows on you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to give it another try. I didn't hate it either. I did like it. I enjoyed it. But at least for me, the luster, the allure, the magic of Creed 1, like, just wasn't fully there. Like, I couldn't get fully engaged into it, or maybe I was starting to also fear, and they did kind of do it. With 2, they kind of went the route of, they're kind of etching in, following the skeletons of Rocky 1, 2, 3 as well. Because then
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
there's the rumor Creed 3, they want to supposedly bring back Clubber Lang Jr. and have him fight him. So it's just
Right,
retelling Rocky all over again, just with Black Rocky pretty much this time, which is what I fear they
right.
do.
Which would be terrible.
Yeah, it'd be like a disservice because Creed was a pleasant surprise. It was just his own thing, its
Right,
own entity, and they were able to work Rocky back into it as the mentor. You know, he's still lovable. He's not a scumbag. He didn't turn into a Paulie himself, anything too. But it's this other kid he's bringing up that's his own character, his own persona. But there's also Rocky in just enough as well. And well, shout out to team underscore Castilian. I'm offended, joking, of course, as far as we were referring to Michael B. Jordan potentially not being a good-looking man, but he definitely is. We're confirming, we're co-signing that. That's a
no, we
good.
didn't say we didn't say anything of the sort.
No, they did say J.K., but you know, I'm guessing they're a big-time fan of Michael B. Jordan. And who's to
Yeah,
blame? There's not a
who?
thing wrong with that man.
Yeah.
And it'll only get better with time with acting career-wise. But I guess before we get into a special little segment slash treat, I wanted to prepare for ourselves for the sake of this episode. We were looking forward to it. We really wanted to amp it up and really
Hmm?
make it special in its own, this episode specifically. So you go with ranking wise, unless you want to bring up anything else of the film. You'd go with Rocky 1, Creed 1, and what else as far as your, let's say, top 5 of all the Rockies?
Oh, I mean, I think I need to go. Yeah. So the first Rocky, hands down, followed by Creed, and I think I'm gonna go Creed 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then Rocky 2, and then Rocky Balboa.
Okay, okay, I can
Yeah.
see that. I respect that actually. Um, I'm still like a little baffled at Creed 2. I guess I got to give it another watch. But
Have
okay, I
you
can
only
see
seen
that.
it once in its entirety? I'm
Well,
listening. Give me one sec.
well, besides watching it with you that first time, it doesn't count because I was drunk and I don't remember a thing. And
Right.
then the time a couple of months ago was the only other time I watched it in full, not drunk. So I did enjoy it, but I got to give it another watch. I think to really like let it sink in per se, or maybe see if my opinion changes. But it's
Right.
definitely good. I'm just not gonna. I wouldn't put it in my top 5. Um,
Okay. Yeah,
I
it
would.
surprisingly gets better with repeat viewings. I think it's just because it's it's like half like it still has like half that indie feel that
Mm,
the first Creed has, but then the other half is just kind of like you were saying, just very formulaic, very like Rocky and just kind of fun. I mean, it's just like at the end of the day, it's like you have Rocky, Adonis, and then going up against Ivan Drago and Victor Drago, which is on paper was such a bad idea. There's no one who heard that and didn't laugh out loud, except for the people who give like Rocky 5 4.5 on Amazon Prime. Because
yeah,
for them, it's just like, oh, well, Ivan Drago is back, so this one's, which one do you
it's
think is
gotta be
better,
good.
Creed or Creed 2? Well, Creed 2, of course, because Ivan Drago's in it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, pal. We trust you with that.
Yeah.
That's why you
So,
pay so much for 2 day shipping, if anything, too. You need
white
your.
people. White people. But go. So I know Rocky 2 is your favorite,
Yeah, definitely.
and I know the first Rocky is going to be your second favorite.
Hmm.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. 1 and 2 definitely is that.
So 2 followed by 1. I'm a
Yeah.
little. This is tough. I want to say I'm going to go. I think your third favorite is Rocky 4.
No.
Rocky 3?
No.
Balboa.
No.
Oh, Creed.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Creed.
Yeah. 3 for me is
Okay, so
definitely Creed.
Okay, it's the fourth one now. Then I'm going to say Rocky 4.
Uh, I think for nostalgia purposes, yeah, I'll go with 4. I did end up liking it after I fully watched it for the sake of the review of the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot how much I actually liked it.
And I'm going to have to say that Rocky 3 would be your fifth favorite. I think you like Rocky 3 more than Balboa.
I when I was little, I loved it because of Hulk Hogan being in there.
Yeah.
Thunder Lips, of course, shout out to him. But I think I'll have to go Balboa for the fifth one.
All right. Wow. Okay.
Brief note on Balboa. The anniversary is coming up this year, so definitely I hope I can count on you to do that one as well.
15 years?
15 years, yep,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
So I think that's
That
for
one,
the
I mean,
holidays.
that one I could give you more info and be more specific without even rewatching it
Hmm.
than having seen Rocky 5 today. You know, it's just
Yeah,
a much better movie.
it was so much better, no question there. But I
Yeah.
put that as my fifth favorite of all of them.
Okay.
But brief side note for that, just because I think we touched enough on the kid earlier in this film to merit it being discussed now. Maybe thinking about it now, the kid, the son, was such a dick to Rocky and Balboa because of him still holding on to like the preteen, like, disappointment with his dad or having Tommy
Yeah.
guns around. But because I was always thinking with Balboa, I love this movie, but why is this kid such a dick to his dad? Like, I wish he just like snap out of it and just beat him at some point too. Be the one time he just like lets loose on somebody close to him, or just backhand him at least.
Yeah.
Even if it's with the fingerless gloves on, it's still, but something, you know. But I was like, why is he such a dick? Why is he such a dick to his dad? Why is he such a dick to his dad? Who doesn't fucking love Rocky as dummy as he is? But then I remember five. I was like,
And then you
okay,
rewatched it.
it's like, okay, maybe, yeah, but that was like however long ago it was too. So like, let go at some point, Jesus.
Yeah. And that doesn't, I guess that it kind of, the math works out there. But, yeah, it's really weird to think of that the grown up Robert, he's going about his day at work or whatever, and like Tommy gun pops into his head. And that's like part of his reality, you know what I mean?
Right, but I think his whole shtick was that what, like he was so upset that people kept recognizing him or dubbing him Rocky's kid, Rocky Jr., whatever. And, like
Yeah,
he had to
Rocky
live with that.
Jr., the big shadow.
I mean, which he wasn't even trying to be a boxer anyway, though. So he was like a whole different fucking walk of life. So why would it even bother
Yeah,
him like that?
exactly.
Which I never got that about Rocky Balboa, but I know that's I believe for November, so I'll definitely count on you for that one too to deep dive into Rocky Balboa when it comes
Yeah,
time. I'd love to touch on that one.
I
Um,
can't wait.
yeah, definitely. But before we go and give at least your final rating and mine as well too, I don't know if you caught up, but because of Wonder Woman 1984, I created for the sake of the show a whole rating system now that's unique to me. So I hope it's appropriate and fitting enough to you. I don't know how, let's say, well versed you are with emojis per se, but we'll get into that when it comes time. I always like to elaborate and break it down so whoever's new watching or listening, they get the gist of it too. But before we do that,
Right.
how about we give the people out here a special treat? We fawned over, at least I did, about the street fight, but there's one key scene in this film that I think we need to touch on and discuss. We did bring up briefly a line here, there too. I think we need to reenact it for the sake of a new segment I want to do, hopefully with everybody that agrees to be on, and you every time you come back on too as well, called Acting Out. Basically, just picking a scene from the movie, either this one or any one we choose, and just reenact this shit as best we can. For the sakes and
All right.
purposes of this
What
episode,
out of curiosity, what scene were you thinking?
I think the one that merits the most attention to be focused on, hence the spotlight thrown at it like that. Why not do the scene where Rocky gets the wonderfully genius idea of thinking my 13-year-old, disgruntled child who hates me already because I'm fawning over a dirty blonde man who's a boxer like me, whatever.
Yeah, he hasn't caught up to the fact that the son actually aged 4 years in the last few weeks. Right.
Within
But
that
continue.
within that time, of course, you realize, oh shit, Santa's a big fat motherfucker, probably pedophile climbing down my chimney, and we're letting him in like that until I'm like 8, 9 years old, until I realize, oh, he's not real. But yeah, the scene where Rocky thinks it's genius to have Paulie, of all people, that smelly fuck, come down yo-yo-yoing with a fucking bag of his laundry, passing off as Santa Claus, of all things. So I think it's
Gotcha.
only fitting enough, since I've known you for as long as I've known you. You love Rocky, the whole series, and you do the much better Rocky because you got the swagger, the taste, the
It's a
flavor.
little, it's a little, it's a
Ah,
little, it's a little rusty, but
ah.
I'll
Don't
try. And
don't
I
be
don't,
humble.
I only rewatched it. I rewatched it, today for the first time in maybe 8 years. So I'm not sure how much of the dialogue I'm gonna remember, but yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Give it your best shot. So for this sakes and purposes, this is the Christmas scene where they're celebrating with Paulie, of course, being Santa Claus and trying to pass him off as a not drunk Santa to the kids who are like, by this point, why the fuck are we like celebrating a supposed pedophile, if anything, in a red suit? Here's Rocky 5, the Christmas scene. Playing the purposes of Rocky will be the Rhino. I will be playing, of course, most befitting to me and how I sound like a big moose. Paulie, Adrian, and the son, Rocky Jr. By the way, Robert Rocky Jr.
and
of
the
all,
and the friends.
and the friends too,
Yeah.
who make you the star. So, okay. So when you're ready, please set
All
it
right.
off for us.
Let me see how it begins. I think it. Hey, yo, stop the presses. Yo, Adrian, I can't believe it. Just come up on the roof. Will you? You just landed there and crashed. Be like, what do you think it is?
Do I hear reindeer on my roof?
They Randless, unbelievable. It's like a big. Come on, look at here. You know this guy.
You got a weird family. Don't I know it?
It's gonna be next Christmas before he gets down. They put it together for Santa.
Merry Christmas, yo, yo, yo.
Yo, I don't think you got it right, Santa. No, no, no. It's ho, ho, ho.
What's the freaking difference? Where I come from is yo, yo, yo. Looks like we got an A-proof Santa.
Hey, Santa, tell all the kids what you got in the bag for them that you brought from the north.
I got my laundry.
No, you got the wrong bag.
Come on, Chubby, get out of the way. Hey, let's sit down. Come here, little boy. You been nice? Uncle Paulie. Well, kid, why not tell Santa what you need? I don't need nothing.
Oh, come on, kid. Tell Santa what you want.
That ain't Santa. It's Uncle Paulie. Let's get real.
What do you mean? Why are you talking like that? We're just trying to have a good time. Santa's here and everything.
It's stupid.
Yo, come on, you're stupid. We're just trying to pretend here. You see, you're supposed to be pretending like this is a game, right?
I don't like pretending. You guys talk to him.
Hey, kid, I ain't talking to them. I'm talking to you here. See, it's very important you spend time with the family and have a good time and just get the spirit going. You know, it's good, right?
Good for what? Come on, let's go. Oh, Rocky's friends are here. He doesn't want to.
Adrian, I know what he wants.
How do you know what I want?
Hey, yo, because I know.
You know me? He thinks he knows me. Look, I ain't celebrating nothing, okay?
Hey, wait, what's the matter with you? We always done this before. We always had a good time. It don't have to change. You remember last year when we had fun? We had a good time.
It ain't last year, and you ain't the same either.
Yo, what? Adrian, what I do?
Go talk to him. Even I could have seen this happening. I should have went down to Miami when I had the chance. You want to talk? Let's talk.
Well, I thought we were supposed to be like, be very close. Hey, come on, kid, I love you.
No, you don't.
Sure, I do. Remember what the deal was? We were supposed to be tight, like fingers crossed.
You want you and Tommy to be tight. That's what you're talking about.
Well, don't say that.
Why can't I say it? Since you came. It's Tommy this, it's Tommy that. You got no time for nobody. So I got
Hey,
no time
yo,
for you.
what do you say? You're like another person.
You're the other person. You said I would be number one to you. You lied. You lied to me and you lied to mom.
Yo, I never lied to you. Tommy needed my help.
So did I. And remember when you said to watch out for scams and deceptions?
Yeah.
You're the one that should have watched out. I could only think Rock would have been dumbfounded as he would have been the brain explosion emoji at that point too, just trying to understand. He would have been short circuiting like what was it? What was that movie? Short Circuit. Fucking what was the robot's
Johnny
name?
Five.
Johnny Five. But yeah, that was acting. Now that was a segment of the show I'll try to force from now on for everybody,
That was the
even if
first one ever, right?
first one ever, at least for who has been watching. Yeah, and I'm glad, of course, got to do it with you. For the sake of
Yeah, I
love and
was
Rocky,
nervous I wasn't going to remember all the lines.
you did better than me at least. I mean, I try my best to sound like a prepubescent teen, but of course, I haven't been able to do that since I was 10. Sounding how I sound, like a scumbag. Thanks, pal. But yeah, I guess at this point now we'll give our ratings, our own ratings to the film itself, Rocky Five from 1990, the fifth installment of this series, starring, of course, Sylvester Stallone slash Rocky Balboa, the endearing, lovable character that's been punched in the head way too many times to even merit five movies of having to watch the same thing over again, just different characters and different villains per se, playing the opposing part of our hero. Better yet said, I think you could say Rocky's heroic in his own sense, or at least brave enough to be who he is, as he's been five times in the sixth. I always love the fact that Balboa isn't titled Rocky Six. It's just Rocky Balboa. It's kind of like
I agree.
it plays up to the part well because six would have been like, yeah, it would have been maybe more of an easy cash grab, but then like Balboa is like more no. This is purposely about Rocky, his second comeback per se in life and all that too, retelling of a different story just at an older age, better get said. But then of course Creed 1 and 2, and then eventually we'll get 3 whenever this pandemic's over, most likely. But yeah, I do want to give the floor to you to give your rating, your assessment of Rocky Five, or would you like me to elaborate on my rating system and see if you
Yeah,
agree
please
with me?
do. I tuned in a little bit to the Wonder Woman episode while I was at work, but I didn't see that part.
Yeah, that's always at the tail end because, of course, I made the rating system just because of how fucking cringeworthy Wonder Woman 84 was. The film, not so much Gal Gadot because she's
Never.
still far from being like, I can't bear to stand her anymore because of how she looks. And that's not to be sexist, but let's be real also. If your favorite
Soft
heartthrob,
serve.
so, that's all you, brother. But yeah, I get you. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, if it's right there looking back at me, one brown eye, two eyes right here, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to say no. Be like, yeah, why not? Bring it here. Backing on up. But yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 gave me the inspiration I needed to create the rating system for who has been watching every episode. I gotta break it down just because I don't need to re-emphasize The fact that this is based off emotions. I get emotionally attached to these things sometimes. Whether it's good or bad, I hate it, I love it. I gotta bring it back into a nutshell. Simply put, in the day and age we're in right now, modern times, there's emojis to best elaborate and explain what we're feeling. Pick and choose. I pick five that make sense the most and expressions to really elaborate what I'm trying to say here. So the who this been rating system goes off of this. Let's just say you go off 4 stars, 4 thumbs up, or four Rocky dolls, whatever you got there with you yourself too as well. If let's say something, let's start off from the top, work our way to the bottom, like a good blowjob per se. So from the shaft to the balls. But if something, let's say, is equivalent to you say it's a masterpiece, it's a classic. Let's say a 4 out of 4, 4 stars or something like that. In my case, my rating system, that is a yes. As in, yes, give me more. Give me another one. Give me a prequel, a sequel. Give me a adaptation of some sorts, animated, retold, whatever. Just give me more of it. Yes, I want more. That's a classic. That's a masterpiece. I only gave that so far, surprisingly, to Kung Fu Panda 3, which I really love like that. And if you really want more elaboration on that, feel free to watch that episode 2, episode 10. And something's a 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 stars, whatever you want to throw at it, whatever, what kind of system you got going on, you rely on religiously. I gotta go with a equivalent to, let's say, which was a pleasant surprise. It's that short at the tip of being a classic and masterpiece. Is not just there yet, but I'd still recommend it openly to whoever asks me, whoever I can just blurt it out to in a random public setting. Of course, social distance, 6 feet apart. Please, hopefully, keep your mask on too, you motherfucker. If we're ever going to see the end of this pandemic, keep your fucking mask on. I can't stress that enough. But yeah, that's also 3 out of 4. Again, a pleasant surprise. Now, if we move further down the scale, if something's a 2 out of 4, if you think it's like, whatever, mid-ground, whatever, I gotta go with a O, which is neutral. Gray area. I can't really determine if it's that good or that bad. I might watch it again if I'm not drunk, most likely. Creed 2, shout out to you. But, of course, I didn't mean to do so. I just got drunk. And you got me drunk
it's
like
my
that,
fault.
too.
It's my fault.
I tricked myself. I thought I was more of a man, but then of course, you got the Irish genetics. No offense, no stereotyping, but you know what I mean.
Trying to keep up with me is never a good idea.
No, not even at this age. I'm sure you can still handle your own. Clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if something's a 2 out of 4,
I have to make it. I have to admit something.
Yeah.
I hope you don't get mad at me.
What's up?
There wasn't coffee in this cup.
Oh, you son of a bitch! I told you. I fucking knew it.
I was better though.
Yeah. You did better. You did good. You did good, pig. You did good.
I didn't even start till the beginning of the episode. I was so nervous last time with Godfather 3 that
Liquid courage.
I was pounding them before we even started.
Liquid courage. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. All right, continue. So 2 was
Oh, exactly. That's a gray area. I can't say it's good. I can't say it's bad. It's just in between. If you smoke whatever, it's mid. It's like, it kind of gets me by throughout the day, but maybe I won't go back to it running at least per se. That's all right there. Now, if we work further down the scale, this ain't the bottom just yet. We're not down to the balls just yet. We're like at the pubic hairs if you're like Arabic or Middle Eastern, like a really big bush, like popping up and stopping you, like a buffer. If something's a 1 out of 4 stars, whatever, thumbs, circumcised, uncircumcised, whatever you gotta give it or rate it. If something's at that level, I gotta go with a meh. I was hoping it'd be better, but it's at most. It's at the tip of, it's at the verge of being trash. I can't recommend it openly, or if like I'm a really super nerd like that, or it's my forte, or I like that kind of porn, better yet said, if you gotta compare it to. I got something for you, like on a secret link I'll send you in the email that's not my work-related email. How about that? That's a 1 out of 4. That's a meh. I can't really recommend it like that. That's what I gave Wonder Woman 1984. Now, at the very, very, very bottom, we're tickling the balls at this point. We're trying to really get it all bust out, one shot, clean, like a 30-minute porn should be at least. That's too long anyway for poor standards too. You know what I mean? We're from the 90s. We saw porn that was like too hairy and too redheaded, if anything, too. And too sloppy of a boob job, too, as well. But if something's a 0 out of 4, abysmal, trash, this was approved in China at some point, or China, at some point it made its way over to the stateside because Steven Seagal had to star in it because he wanted to be a 70-year-old sniper, convincing enough with like a full jet black head of hair with that big fat face of his at this point now too. Far removed when he was like breaking hands of like 50, Saudi Arabian soldiers in one room all by himself with no guns, by the way, just flipping wrists and breaking fingers off. 0 out of 4. It's a why. Why would you allow this to have the budget to be made, to be greenlit, to get to the production stage? Why wasn't it stuck in production hell like the Mortal Kombat remake was, and then finally will be seen this April because of HBO Max and pandemic? Why would you allow anyone to star in this thing that wants to be credited for it besides a big fat paycheck, you big fat greedy pig? Why? That's a 0 out of 4. I haven't given anything a 0 out of 4 yet, but that's the bottom of the barrel. That's where you gotta like, if you can't swallow, you just spit it out right after because you're not trying to have babies either way like that, or by mistake by swallowing it down. But yeah, if we gotta go according to this scale, Rhino, at Rhino Roll, by the way, RYNO, where would you, I'll let you take first taste at it. Where would you put Rocky 5 on what I gave you right now as far as the rating system goes?
I gotta go meh. I got a little bit of bush tickling my lips.
You got a sniff of the bush and you thought otherwise?
Yeah, but I can't go all the way. So I'm going to go with a meh.
Now, any reason particularly why besides this whole time we've been elaborating on why otherwise?
I mean, an O is it's too good. But it's not bottom of the barrel. I mean, it's for the most part, it's relatively well made. I mean, the directing, except for the fight, the camera angles in the fight is pretty bad, but for the most part, I mean, it's not bottom of the barrel. It's not terrible. It's like it's professionally made. Gets the job done.
Yeah, I can see that being said about it.
Good. It's just not good.
So you definitely say besides 1 out of 4 or a meh at this point.
Exactly.
It's the worst one of all the Rockies. That's a given fact.
Yeah, for sure. It would probably be a little closer to 2, but I can't quite give it a 2.
Not just there.
I would give it, professionally, if I was a critic, I would give it a 1.5.
Okay. Out of 4 or?
Out of 4.
Okay. Okay.
Because I would give the fourth one a 2. Just based on entertainment value. I mean, it's basically a music video. It's ridiculous in every sense of the word. But the last time I watched it, I did actually enjoy it a lot, and it's just fun.
This
one is yeah.
Yeah, this one no. There's no saving grace.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, I really want to save as much energy as possible. So, precursors, spoilers, whatever you want to deem it. And spoilers, by the way, if you made it to this point about Rocky 5, you haven't watched it. I mean, you had 30 fucking years to watch it by now, so it's shame on you. But I can't give it a 0 out of 4. Had it been any other series, any other adaptation of whatever story you might have seen by now 5 times, I would have gladly. But I gotta give it a meh, a 1 out of 4 as well too. So we're sympathetic on that end, just because there is some good to it. I mean, listen,
some good one-liners.
Good one-liners definitely. They're sprinkled in. George Washington,
when George Washington and Duke, the same scene we were talking about earlier outside the pet store, he's like, I believe it was your Mark Twain who said, and he says the quote, and Paulie's like, who's Mark? He's like, who's Mark Twain? And Rocky's like, he was a painter.
There is, exactly. Stuff like that is sprinkled in.
Yeah.
There's the random one-liner here and there sprinkled in and kind of salvages it. That gives the same old-fashioned Rocky charm humor to it as well from 1 through 4. Before we got, of course, Balboa and Creed 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there is George Washington, who is a great villain. Clear cut, of course. Unfortunately, he's the black man made to be a villain for some reason. But he does have fancy clothes on. He does have
and he's rich.
he does have fingered leather gloves on compared to Rocky's no finger leather gloves on as well. So you got to respect him for that.
Yeah.
He's got some nice ass glasses for the '90s. That's always commendable. And there's also the street fight, which call me simple-minded, call me a kid at heart still, but that street fight alone is just again the embodiment of the envisionment of something I'd love to do myself at some point eventually. Without the fact that everybody cries to the law for every little thing now. But I'd love to reenact that some way somehow. If not literally, then of course for the sake of like a skit or a segment, you know. But and then there's also, I mean, it's Rocky. You can't really hate him. You can't.
Yeah, it's hard to dislike Rocky.
It's hard to dislike him also, and then you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you brought it up too. At whichever point it was, that this is the bridge to everything else we got afterwards. The very much better, much improved Rocky Balboa, reigniting the passion we had for every past entry except five. Fuck that one. But then you
Right.
get Creed 1 and Creed 2. Can't get those without the bridge as is. Well, the very sloppy. You remember, you were probably there that time too. What was that bridge, the name of, that collapsed in Astoria like some years ago? The overhead of the expressway by Steinway? Uh,
I'm not sure I remember that.
it was years ago, but like it was literally over the. I don't drive that much, so I don't know the names, but like it was over Steinway, like you drive over like the expressway or something, and it just like
Really?
fell
Just
one day,
rapid. Oh yeah.
like right at the corner of I mean, sorry, this is Queens, New York talk. Locals only would understand, but
Yeah.
oh god, where Little Egypt is, all the
Yeah,
hookah
like by
spots.
Astoria Boulevard.
Yeah, right off Astoria Boulevard, going into Steinway, going up Steinway.
Yeah.
That little oak bridge, whatever, I guess you'd call it a bridge. It just like fell through one day, and they had to rebuild it, or whatever.
Right.
That's as faulty as the bridge is that Rocky Five is for Rocky 1 through 4 to Rocky Balboa Creed 1 and 2. But it exists. It's sturdy enough to hold the weight and bear with it to carry you over from this way over that way and make it happen. So only because of that stuff right there, and I'm really trying to stress and pull fucking hairs here. If anything, their pubes are dirty and nasty and grimy. I'm pulling hair here to try to salvage what is otherwise a not so great movie. Therefore, meh for Rocky Five. I mean, is there anything else we can say, good or bad, about the film you want to close off with, Rhino?
Um. No, I think we covered it all.
I do want to add
We
one
didn't.
more
We
thing,
didn't mention.
actually.
We didn't mention Frankie Fear, but that's okay.
Oh no, please, at least bring it up quickly. No, go ahead.
No, that's it. Just gotta shout out to Frankie Fear.
But what was his friend that Tommy admitted to having back in Oklahoma?
Oh, his real best friend was Eric Elder, who I like to imagine after all this went down, Tommy got dropped by George Washington Duke. He
Yeah,
told him as much. He was like, "You're ruining everything." So Tommy probably went back to Oklahoma, got a 2-bedroom with Eric Elder, and worked construction, I guess.
with Eric Elder, but he would just dub him Frankie Fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, did you get punched in the head that much, Tommy? You know my name's Eric, right? Why you keep calling me Frankie?
Yeah,
And then, one more point about George Washington quickly too is that I love that he had. I mean, the exaggerated, black man speech, of course, but I love that he sound. If he wasn't the boxing promoter that he was, playing off a little bit of Don King, he would have been an excellent reverend. Just he had that same intonation, that same speech pattern. Tommy
yeah,
Guns, you're done if you can't beat that bum, or whatever he said at that point.
yeah. In the ring. Tommy Gunn only fights in the ring.
I love too how I love how crazy it was too. I'll touch on this too. Also, the second press conference when he finally wins the title, Tommy Guns, and everybody's tearing him apart because people's champ like Rock was whatever. Like I never could envision anything going down similar to this. How pretty much he buries Tommy Guns by saying, no, he's no real champion, and maybe in due time, whatever, he'll be like respected like Balboa was. He was the real people's champ, but eventually, someday, somehow, I hope he's paid enough to do so, whatever. Just burying
Right.
him like in front of a
He
crowd.
does, yeah. No respect. Tommy Gunn's not happy about it.
I mean,
Then why don't you
rightfully
back
so.
me up in there?
Rightfully so. And also, one last thing, since funny enough, you queued me up with that camera angle switch you did right there. I love the fight. I do defend the fight at the end of the movie, but also the camera work at most time, 90% of, I would think, or I was trying to read through the credits and seeing hope to justify it. Maybe it was Michael J. Fox manning the shit himself deep into the Parkinson state was because that shit was shaky as fuck. I thought I was having shooken baby syndrome at some point too, because it was just all over the place at some point. Or did they hand it off to Paulie? Did he just do
Oh
double
fuck
duty?
no.
It was all over the place though.
I'm
But
not sure.
but the fight was great though. I mean, I'll defend it at least. At least that was one of
Hey,
the saving
I'm not
graces.
against it. I'm not against it. I
But
wouldn't go on the record. I wouldn't want to tell people that I like it, but like it's a guilty pleasure.
it's a exactly that's a guilty pleasure. That's also why I put it in there because it is a guilty pleasure. All them times I saw it halfway through and I still watch it, I was like, "There's a reason." I guess I really don't hate it like that. But it's Rocky, I guess. So
Right.
shoot me. I'm guilty. But yeah, Rhino at Rhino Roll RYNO Roll like a roll with butter. I guess I don't know if you were ever a fan of that. I do it
Oh,
toasted.
big time.
I do it toasted. I don't know how un New York that is
I like
supposedly.
it. I like it toasted, but I like it not toasted, and I dip it in my coffee.
Oh, that's smart
I
actually.
know you've seen me do that before, back
You
in
have.
the
I
radio
remember.
days.
I remember now. I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No shame in that game at all.
No,
But again, as always, it's always a huge pleasure to have the Rhino, Ryan, the Rhino roll on with me again for what else? Rocky Five, of course, something we loved. Well, maybe not so much love, but it's we acknowledge its existence. If it was the family
right.
court, we'd be like, that's my son, but I'll make up for the 10 years I wasn't there for. I swear, Your Honor, I'm good. but, but yeah, this was Rocky Five.
Right.
Episode 13 of Who Has Been Watching, of course, co-starring, thank God again, to the Rhino for doing so. You watched it here on Instagram Live first, where you'll get every episode brand new for you, streaming live. Fucker will do it live in the spirit of Bill Maher, or whoever that reporter was. I forget who. But yeah, this is where you get it first live and raw, uncut, edited, slightly cleaned up for the sake and purposes of audio and visual. You'll get it later on youtube.com/who this is one, as well as audio format. You'll get on any DSP, digital streaming platform of your preference, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcast. Drop me a rating, drop me a comment if you can to an Apple. If you got a BlackBerry for some reason, you're stuck in the fucking past like Rocky Five was, and there's that suspense and time and continuation that film had too. So get with the times, motherfucker. That's all I'm asking kindly. I love Blackberries, the physical keyboard, but also everything is touchscreen, swipe this, swipe that like Tinder. Might as well treat it like that. But Rhino, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you
Thank
from the
you,
bottom
man.
of my heart every time you do this. We definitely got more in the works, more to cover, much more to do and elaborate on, and
Looking
hopefully
forward to it.
hopefully not have to bury like we've done so far with this track record of Godfather 3 and then Rocky 5. 1990s not so best, but it's out there.
Yeah.
And we're young enough to not know better at that time anyway.
Right.
Isn't that the beauty of life? We finally grown to know and go back and touch on the things we loved so much as a child that what was I thinking at this point?
Exactly.
But thank you so much again, everybody who watched, who tuned in the comments as well, jumped in on
Yeah.
the live.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Rhino will be in touch, and thank you again so much, bro. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Thank you.
Later, man.
Talk to you soon.
All right.